She mocked me in public. I ended her secret in front of everyone.
I never thought I'd be that guy. The one people whisper about at work, the one strangers stare at with pity. For most of my life, I was predictable, reliable, quiet. I liked routine. I liked stability, and I genuinely believed loyalty was enough to keep a marriage alive. I was wrong. I met Lavra when I was 24, just starting my career in finance. She worked at the front desk of the firm, confident, sharp, with a laugh that could fill a room. She liked that I was a good listener, and I liked that she chose me over louder, flashier guys. We married young, built a simple life, and for a while it felt solid. Maybe not thrilling, but it was safe. I thought that was love, but things changed. So slowly, I didn't even notice at first. Lavra grew impatient with my habits, my clothes, the way I spoke. Little jokes at my expense started creeping into conversations with friends. At first, I just laughed along. I thought that's what marriage was, swallowing small discomforts for the person you love. Then came the public moments. At dinners, she'd cut me off mid-sentence. At parties, she'd mock my job as boring or safe to the point of sadness. People would laugh awkwardly at first, then more freely when they saw she encouraged it. I told myself it didn't matter, that she didn't really mean it. But deep down, something was cracking. The night it all broke happened at a busy restaurant downtown, surrounded by our co-workers and friends. I hadn't even wanted to go, but Lavra insisted. She wore a dress she knew turned heads. And from the moment we sat down, she barely looked at me. Her attention was on everyone else, on their compliments, their laughter, their validation. Halfway through dinner, someone asked how long we'd been married. Lavra smiled and said, "Long enough for him to stop trying." The table laughed. Then she added, "Some men peak early, others just plateau." That one hit hard. I felt the heat rise in my face, my chest tightening. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. She just looked at me, almost daring me to respond. When I didn't, she smirked and turned back to her audience. In that instant, I realized none of this was accidental. It was intentional. I went home that night with a cold, painful clarity. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. I just sat alone in the dark and replayed years of moments I'd brushed aside. The jokes, the growing distance, the nights she came home late smelling of a cologne that wasn't mine. The way she guarded her phone like it held state secrets. I stopped asking questions and just started paying attention. The truth unraveled quickly. Too quickly. Her affair wasn't subtle, it was arrogant. The man wasn't a stranger either. He was connected to her work, someone who enjoyed showing off his power and influence. I learned more than I ever wanted to know, not by spying, but just by listening. When people assume you read too weak to notice what is happening right in front of you. I could have confronted her right then and there. I could have filed for divorce and just disappeared. But something inside me had changed. I didn't want revenge fueled by rage. I wanted something colder, something final. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. A big company event, public, crowded, meticulously planned. Lavra insisted I attend. She was unusually pleasant that whole week, almost sweet. That alone told me everything I needed to know. She thought she was in complete control of the situation. At the event, I watched her work the room as if I didn't exist. I watched the other man play his part, so confident, so careless. When it was time for announcements, he stood up, raised his glass, and smiled like a man who had never faced a single consequence in his life. He started making jokes about loyalty, about knowing when to upgrade, about men who don't realize they've already been replaced. Lavra laughed the loudest. She didn't even glance my way, so I stood up. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me more than anything. I didn't shout. I didn't insult anyone. I just stated facts, calmly, clearly. I exposed the lies, the misconduct, the truths that couldn't be laughed away. I didn't need drama. The truth did all the work for me. You could have heard a pin drop. Faces changed. Smiles vanished. Phones came out. Silence washed over the room. Laura's face went completely pale. The man who thought he was untouchable suddenly looked very, very small. I didn't stay to watch the fallout. I didn't need to. I just walked out with my dignity, something I hadn't realized I'd lost until I finally got it back. The aftermath was messy, of course. There were apologies that came far too late and tears that felt more desperate than sincere. I didn't argue. I didn't negotiate. I just walked away from the marriage with clarity instead of bitterness. For a while I thought winning would feel better. It didn't. What came next was quieter, emptier. The anger that had been fueling me was gone, leaving this huge space I didn't know how to fill. I had to rebuild myself from scratch, without the identity of the betrayed husband or the guy who finally fought back. That took time. Therapy helped. Putting distance between me and that life helped. But learning to trust my own voice again helped the most. Months later, I met someone new. It wasn't dramatic. Just coffee, conversation, and easy comfort. She listened. She didn't mock silence. She didn't need an audience to feel important. With her, I learned that real love isn't an endurance test. It's not humiliation disguised as humor. One afternoon, I ran into Lavra unexpectedly. She looked different, smaller, tired. She apologized. Not in a dramatic way, but honestly, and I accepted it not for her, but for me. I learned that forgiveness isn't about reconciliation. It's about release. Walking away that day, I felt nothing, no anger, no regret, just peace. If my story proves anything, it's this. Real power isn't about getting revenge.